Well, it's Monday, and that can mean only one thing. We are once again talking dogs on a Monday. And more specifically, we're talking Ladbrokes Easter Cup. And of course, we'll also be giving a good mention to the Greyhound and Pet World Juvenile Classic down in Tralee. That's mainly because we are joined by the dulcet tones of Mike Flaherty, the man who you hear for so many years now at this point, does the commentary at Tralee, and a man who keeps an eye on all matters greyhound racing. And of course, we'll also be joined by the exiled dub, Tommy Lyons, down in his yawl base. Kept us waiting this morning, but he's here now, and we're ready to go. Mike, firstly, welcome to Talking Dogs on Monday. A great weekend's racing to look back on.
Thanks very much, Ian, and thanks for inviting me on. Looking forward to it. Easter Cup threw up a few different results, didn't it? And we had some good racing down in much better conditions in Tralee for the Juvenile. It looked like it was a kind of a weekend for the ladies.
Hey, we like the ladies. We have no problem with that. We've been heaping praise on the ladies for quite some time over the last couple of weeks and months. Tommy, it really is sort of backing up everything we said. They are a special group.
Yeah, they certainly are. That was kind of a wow moment, wasn't it, on Saturday night in the Easter Cup? We'll be talking about it in more detail, but yeah, that kind of lit up the stake. We talked last week about the quality being so good, and the heats then for last Saturday night being exceptionally good. But that was just a wow moment. It kind of gave the 2021 a real kickstart now for the classics ahead. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant performance.
Yeah. Well, we'll start with yourself, Mike, because obviously you are new to this. We're gonna ease you into it nice and handy. A great night's racing at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. Of course, you would have been viewing probably were you from the commentary box when you were viewing?
I was actually racing, so my race was going off like 3 or 4 minutes before the heats of the Easter Cup. But I managed to get to see all of them apart from the last ones. I think we finished early, but I've seen them all a couple of times in running. I tell you, before we have a look at race one, I really want to stand corrected on this, but I've looked into it. I cannot find a Kerry-trained winner of the Easter Cup. Is that possible? Now, my knowledge would go back to the mid-80s, kind of late 80s, and then the names.
This is probably something you should have said to me about a week ago when I'd have found out. Thanks for that, Mike. I'll tell you what. Sure, listen, we're here. You might as well just put me on the spot.
No, I don't know. No, I've looked back and I can't see one. There's obviously been Kerry-owned.
Yeah, obviously there have been. There's been Kerry sponsors too, because it was the College Causeway Easter Cup one year. That would have been the boys involved in College Causeway. But I can't think off the top of my head. But I'm sure if we go back far enough, there's something.
Yeah, maybe someone in the comments on the Facebook when it goes up can correct us and call us all idiots for not knowing that.
It's typical Tommy. A fella comes on, with his thick Kerry accent. First thing he wants to do is straight into the Kerry dogs, and it's like having Barry Drake here talking about Jaws.
I was going to apologise. I will be wearing my Tralee hat this evening, so get that out of the way. That's going to happen.
Ian, you said you'd ease him in, and then he goes and throws you under the bus. Like, what's this about?
In fairness to him, he's been watching obviously in recent weeks, and I think that's the order of the day. Just throw Fortune under the bus and see where he lands. Right, we'll kick off.
If anybody can prove it wrong, but I don't think there has been a Kerry winner of the Easter Cup, and I don't know, but maybe there will be this time. Liam Dowling, you never know. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, you never know. He's one or two decent ones. Mike, on Saturday night, obviously Billis Diva was the start turn, but we'll kick off in the opening heat because this was new in session making a statement. He looked like he'd need the run in the opening round. He probably still looks like he needs the run, but on Saturday night, he went past Knocknabull Sid, which is something that very, very few racing greyhounds do. 2 to 3 really was a statement. He's a greyhound with an immense amount of talent, and he's certainly a greyhound that seems to be maturing, and hopefully we're going to see the very, very best of him in 2021.
Yeah, I like Knocknabull Sid. It's probably one of the most consistent greyhounds in training at the moment, I think. I mean, if you put Knocknabull Sid in the traps, within reason, any trap, he's going to come out. And he came out the other night. And I think new in session actually helped himself by getting crowded at the first bend where they touched. He just clipped him at the back. It was minuscule, but it was like half a length. And I think if there hadn't been any contact there, Knocknabull Sid would have been gone, away and gone. I don't think so, because he rallied on the run in as well and came back in. I think what was the distance? The winning distance, like 1.5 lengths, 29.72. For Saturday night, I don't think we want to get too up about the times. I think just qualifying, and I'm not sure. I don't know if the likes of owners and trainers would the owners and would Knock the Bull Sid's Pat Buckley, would he be disappointed that he came second? I don't think he actually would do. It's just on to the next round. He knows he's going to bang out the next round. New In Session was very impressive. That was his 11th win. But I think just clawing back Knock the Bull Sid at the first bend really helped him. And obviously he's a very fast ground. Beach Avenue in third, absolutely flying. And he found loads of trouble around the first two bends.
Yeah, if you're gonna put into a machine, or you're gonna ask for a model of a greyhound that you'd like to own, you'd pick something like Beach Avenue, because versatility, strength, consistency, desire. He's just a really nice dog, Tommy. But we're going to get back to New In Session, because this really was a statement performance by him. As we said, no dog really passes Knock the Bull Sid, or he hasn't been passed too often in his career. You were impressed, I'm sure.
Mike is right about the times. You don't worry about it. I just love the fact that when he got forced to check slightly, it was within strides. He was back on top of the greyhound in front and Knock the Bull Sid, and he was literally ready to go by him as it straightened up down the back. It was fiercely impressive. I wouldn't mind at all that he maybe slightly idled, or maybe as you said, he might have needed the run still. That Knock the Bull Sid was coming back at him maybe in the last 50 yards or so. I think he was in command of the race. This is what we've expected from him. Now, obviously, it gets a little bit tougher now in the next couple of weeks, and we'll find the true mettle of the dog. But I thought this was a step up. Last year, I just had, we had our doubts about him. We had said, is he ever going to find that consistency? There was a bit of brilliance in that run last Saturday night that says maybe he can. I'm still not ready. I'm still not ready to back him. Let's be honest about it. Because
you're closer to being able to back him than you were.
I'm now thinking that he's going to travel a lot deeper into big stakes than I have been in the past, where I thought that he's going to try in a bad run and he's going to get knocked out or whatever. And as Mike says, his record doesn't suggest that's going to happen. But that's what was in the back of my mind, that maybe just things won't go his way and maybe he just get knocked out of competition. Now I'm thinking he has the grit to go and travel deep into competition. It's a different story, because I think the quality of greyhounds, I can't remember it being as good, as deep, maybe at the very, very top level, as deep as it is. So you can be a really, really good greyhound at the moment and maybe not get your reward by winning competitions. But I think he's the type of dog now, after seeing that performance, I know it was a 5-dog race, whatever, maybe helped by having a bit of room or whatever. But I thought he showed the type of grit that you want from a greyhound. So a bit of class and a bit of determination, that goes a long way.
Yeah, just before we go through the heats again, I just want to touch on something, on a tangent, on something you sort of just said there, Tommy. Because the competition, there was such strength and depth, there was no room to maneuver. And as a result, even on Saturday night, it was something Shane Dowling said to me yesterday, that the likes of the Beach Avenues and these, and Glenlara, Max and Drumduit, Bermuda, I'm not saying that Saturday night was their final, but they were guns blazing. Their connections knew that these dogs had to be right as rain to get through. And as a result, probably one or two of the better dogs, and I don't mean to do the dogs that went through an injustice, but we lost some massive names the other night, like Native Maestro, Epic Hero, Glengar Bale, Ballymac Kingdom, Ballymac Ariel. Like, you take the best 6 dogs that went out on Saturday night and put them in a final, and it's one of the best classic finals you have of all time. It just goes to show the strength and depth. And when there is such strength, lads, there's just no room for maneuver. There's no room for error.
Yeah, a lot of dogs. Sorry, Tommy.
Go ahead, Mike.
A lot of dogs ran really good races and aren't in the next round. Native Maestro ran an absolutely brilliant race. The only second time he's ever been beaten. We'll talk about him in a minute, I'd imagine, when we get onto the final heat. But there's loads of dogs that ran really good races, really good times, that aren't going to be featuring next week. So again, it underlines how good an Easter Cup this is this year. Yeah,
it's pretty incredible, Tommy.
But might be a point a few minutes ago that kind of might have slipped by, and is important to what you were saying. I was actually going to make a point at the time that when he said about Knock the Bull Sid, they won't mind him getting beaten the other night. You've got a kind of a luxury with a dog that's going to break every night. You've got a slight luxury with him like when you can set your clock by them, like Knock the Bull Sid, that they're going to get out in front and they're likely to avoid trouble. So the chances of them qualifying are greater. So they can be a little bit below it. But when you've got a dog that lacks that little bit of early pace, so you don't know where he's going to be in the first while, you might say, oh yeah, he's going to pick his way through. But the problem is he's going to be in amongst the trouble if there is trouble in a race. So you do dice with getting knocked out every night. Whereas if you have a knock and go, so you get out in front, maybe run 3 lengths below your best and still qualify comfortably.
Yeah, it's not been like a derby heat. A derby heat, like where you can go through the opening round, second round of a derby, go right. Well, that's not really going to qualify, and that's not going to. But this from the first round has been. Oh my God! Look at this. This is unbelievable quality.
Yeah, it's like a derby where you just take the best 48 dogs and throw them in, and that's where you are. You know, you've thrown away the first and second round in the derby, and all of a sudden you're left with the 48 dogs. And that's what we say in a derby. You know, the first night that they all run on the same night is when it's down to the round of 48, as the Americans would say. And that's how the Easter Cup started. And as a result, it's just no room for maneuver. And then add to that the fact that it's the first competition of the year, and dogs are coming back in weather conditions down parts of the country where dogs aren't as ready as they would have been in previous years. Finish off that opening heat for a moment. We'll just say Glengar Bale actually ran reasonably well after missing the kick. He's a dog that just looks a bit off match fitness. There's no question. He's shown plenty of pace, but I have no doubt he'll have bigger nights later in the year. Hello, Mike. He ran very well in the opening round. No luck on this occasion. Badly done on the opening bend when Beach Avenue ran off and himself clashed. Beach Avenue, as we said, stayed on strongly to win. And Knock the Bull said, Tommy, you didn't give him a mention there. Obviously, Kingdom Derby winner. Mike said it. He'll be in front more often than not. He's a dog that's a big player.
If I'm thinking further ahead down the line, Derby, things like that, do I think he's going to win it? Probably not. But you can't rule him out because of the early pace. He's shown it now. As I said, this is labelling the point slightly, but the quality is so deep, but he keeps showing it that he can lead that sort of quality of greyhound, the very, very best. So yeah, he is a player, because you only qualify, and if you can get around in front in the final, when it gets even more competitive, when the quality of greyhounds is even tighter, when there's no margin whatsoever, if you can get around in front, you're halfway home.
Okay, we'll move on. We'll move on to the second heat, lads, of the Ladbrokes Easter Cup. And here, another shock. We saw two classic winners clashing out: Ballymac Kingdom and Epic Hero. Pierno was the other one to fail to qualify. It left Golden Tiger, Boyle Sports Bingo, and Glenlara Mac going through to the next round. And we'll get on to Golden Tiger in a moment. Just Ballymac Kingdom, an update, lads. He did do a small injury. He did a little bit of damage to his stopper bone. It's a recurrence of an injury that he had earlier in his career, so he can come back and hopefully we'll see him back and right as rain. It was obvious that something was amiss because he was absolutely perfectly housed or perfectly positioned at the opening corner. It just didn't happen for him. And then when he checked up at the third bend, you just knew he was feeling something. But that's not to take away anything from Golden Tiger, because this is a young greyhound. He's only in December. He's really progressive. He showed a lovely turn of early speed, and I just love the way he went about it. Great to see Larry O'Rourke, who put so much money into the game, has had so many great dogs over the years, having a good winner. Michael, did Golden Tiger run around Tralee? Did you see him in Tralee?
I think so. No,
I think he ran in Clonmel, but excuse me. But hard not to be impressed with him, Mike.
No, it was over 5 yards at the sectional. It was over. It went round in front. He did a 3:51 sectional, which, looking at the rest of them on the night, wasn't that quick. Now, it looked quick in the race because there was a few of the clients that actually didn't trap as well as they could do. So you might get a bit lost thinking he banged out. He didn't actually. It wasn't that quick. It was only.
No, it was all about early speed, acceleration. It was actually Epic Hero, I'd say, that was nearly first to hit the ground. But this fella got racing immediately. Yeah,
he was impressive. I mean, Graham Holland knows how to get them out. He's won the Easter Cup 3 times. I like him. I think Bowl Sports Bingo is the kind of dog that keeps on improving. He could keep qualifying. Did well, stayed on well, and Glencara Max stayed on well towards the end. Epic Hero maybe ran a little bit flat. I was expecting a bit more from a ledger winner. Slightly clouded on the run up. He was come across and just didn't do much after that, really. And obviously at the third, then Ballymac Kingdom, you saw he lost his action, and you knew immediately that he wasn't right. And hopefully we'll see him again, because he's one of my favourites. I like him.
Yeah, it was even probably before the third bend we knew something was amiss, because, as good as Boyle Sports Bingo is, he shouldn't be passing Ballymac Kingdom down the back straight. But Tommy, Golden Tiger was a very likeable winner. I have a bit of a theory on him in a moment, but what's your take on Golden Tiger?
I'm a bit like Mike. I thought that there wasn't a huge amount of early pace in the race, and there was probably an opportunity for a dog to go and take this by the scruff of the neck. He did just that. I think there was a lot to like about the performance. He looks progressive. He hasn't had that many runs, maybe 12 or 13, whatever it is. He potentially can improve, but I think that's a much tougher task ahead now. He'll have to step up again. Nice performance, take nothing away from it, but he's got to step up quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, I think he's going to struggle to qualify the next night. I'll be honest. But I think this is the start of a move. I think if Graham brings this fella to Toaster, I think he could be made for the place. Inside runner, good early speed. If you look back at his opening round defeat, he was shown good early speed on the way into the corner, was forced to check on the bend. Yeah, behind Knocknabull Sid, he was showing plenty of early speed. Knocknabull Sid was a bit of a revelation in the first 3 or 4 rounds of the English Derby last year. Just don't be surprised if this turns into that type of greyhound. I just think Toaster might suit him, give him an inside draw. I think he'd be thereabouts in the corner most nights, and I think he's a nice progressive dog. Just one to keep an eye on in the coming weeks and months. Boyle Sports Bingo. He's been running so well for the last 2 or 3 months, Tommy. He was a dog that obviously ran up at Juvenile Derby. What are we talking, a year and a half ago at this stage? Seemed to get lost in the wilderness for quite a spell. Paul said to me he brought him down to Kilkenny one day and just all of a sudden seemed to spark back to life. And for the last 2 or 3 months, he's been absolutely flying. He's running consistently well, and he's very well drawn the next night. He could certainly get through again. Yeah,
what was he beaten in the final of the Gold Cup? Maybe a little over a length or something like that. Like he's a fair dog. He's probably going to be one of those that falls very slightly short all the time. But by God, he's a game dog, and he is the type of one. I think he can turn close enough. He's not a specialist early pacer, but like he's capable of turning close enough that he can use his middle speed or his finishing speed to kind of qualify through races. He's an ideal kind of competition dog. Again, maybe one that might just struggle to get his nose in front when it comes to the very big nights. Just because of the depth of quality there, but he's a fair animal now. In fairness to him, I like the dog. You have to admire his consistency. I think he's in the first 3. He's very seldom out of it.
He's made the frame. He's made the frame 32 times in his 41 races. So he's the kind of dog that's going to qualify.
It's funny, the dog I said about Beach Avenue, versatile, strong, really consistent type dog. And this is another one. They're both trained by Paul Hennessy. He gets a tune out of this type of dog. They can just run so consistently well, and fair play to the obviously it's great to see John Boyle, a great sponsor of the game. I'm sure he'd love to take a bit of Ladbrokes money. I'm not sure if he is or not going to do that, but he'd certainly like to go a little bit further. Glenlara Mac was 3rd. He's a nice dog. He's not consistent enough at boxes perhaps, and is probably a couple of yards shy of the top level lads. Is that the way we view him?
He's only 1 of 2 wide seeds left, so he's got that in his favour. I mean, he's a big fella. He's over 80 pounds, so he obviously has to be out there. Might struggle to make the side, I think. He ran well.
He did run well. We'll move on to the 3rd heat because, I know it's an away and gone, and she wins 8.5 lengths to 29.47. But there's actually a lot to talk about in this heat as a contest, apart from the winner. The winner was special. Like we've known for a long time she was special. Tommy, I'm probably more guilty than most of not picking her up purely because she was taking on Ballymac Ariel every night. And, my tendency was to favour Ballymac Ariel over this lady, but she really is special. And in any other normal year, she'd be the standout bitch in the country, without a question. We're just at a time when there's an unbelievable group, but she's not just one of the best bitches in the country now. She's one of the best dogs in the country. She took a flyer the other night. You can say there wasn't an awful lot of early speed in the race, but there was really. Like Ewan Sheedy can fly up, Mingler's Popeye can fly up. Now, neither of them really got their start, but Billy's Diva, away and gone, as you like. 8.5 lengths from halfway. She was just a vision. She just absolutely stormed home. She was the fastest split to the 3rd bend of the competition thus far. Conditions were probably a little bit more favorable this week than last week, but she did everything right. She's a really talented lady, and I know, Tommy, you're a massive fan.
Yeah, she's special, and you know what? She was only playing out time over 5.25 yards last year. It's stepping up that she wants. If she goes a bit further, too, she'd be even better, which is an incredible thing to say.
Just while you're there, I'm flicking through the channels on Sunday night between golf and whatnot, and I flicked over the races for the Swindon race, and her brother won over 6 bends in an open 6 bend race at Swindon. So there's obviously plenty of strength in the family.
She, like I said, she's got everything. I mean, if she might struggle over 5.25 against the best of the dogs, She's certainly more than hold her own against her own sex over 5 to 5. But this trip and further, she's going to be exceptional. What I loved about the performance the other night was that she charged traps and reset herself incredibly quickly, and still did a 341 or 342, whatever it was. It was something around that sort of mark.
You can see it because she's a fawn dog.
Yeah,
and it's incredible. It's a split-second surge, and then she resets herself, and bang, away and gone. It's incredible how she did it.
That probably explains the reason why something like a Mingler's Popeye didn't take his flyer, or a New Chidi, two really natural starters. Like, I'd say I could count on one hand the amount of times I've seen Mingler's Popeye not even miss it, but even half miss it. Like, that wasn't his running the other night. So that's probably explains that. Perhaps one of the black dogs did charge it a bit more. She went and then went again. Michael, she's a special lady. I'd say you'd like to own a leg in this one.
Absolutely. And that, but it's amazing.
It'll cost you, right?
It would now, yeah. But two cracking bitches. I mean, what was going on behind her was actually more interesting because the result was away and gone. No one's going to come from behind him. Ballymac Area and Great Name That do themselves up. But Great Name That was unbelievable how he recovered from what he did. And as we were talking about earlier, Ballymac Area ran a really good race, but is gone, like, and it's unbelievable. Look at her; she flew into the third bend and actually shut the door on Great Name That. He had to kind of check back, reset himself, and really cleverly switches back into the rails and drives on for the qualifying spot. And Ballymac Area got done on the line. It was really like fascinating what was going on behind. You knew Billy's Diva was away and gone. 342 she did. 341 was the best on the night, I think. She found half a second on her first round heat time.
Yeah, she looked like there was a bit of cobwebs there in the opening round, because we have seen her flash some traps in the past, and it just took her a while to get there in the first round. But obviously a week, and I think she's been stand up in the cliffs and more, because the cobwebs were more than well and truly blown away. This was exceptional. As you say, the action behind was every bit as enthralling. New Chidi found himself on the fence. Great Name That was on his shoulder, and Ballymac Ariel went around the two of them to try and go second.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she cuts in on her kennel companion and New Chidi. She gets a couple of bumps, a third bump, and after doing all that running down the back straight, she finds very little home. Great Name That, as Michael perfectly described it. I don't know what he did. Checks back inside, flies up the home straight. He's just his engine is there for all to see. New Chidi lost out. Mainly because of the traffic problems, and Drum Do It Bermuda comes up on the line to qualify in third spot. We mentioned him last week. He's running out of his skin for Alan Byrne and Rebecca Porter. And Rebecca sent me a message of the night, actually, a picture of, I think it might have been milkshakes or something like that on the way home. And meanwhile, Granddad at home was minding the baby. I just think it's a lovely story. I'm delighted for them. Now, whether he'll go another round is another question, but Great Name That, Ballymac Area and New Chidi. Tommy, where do you start there? What's your take out of the race?
Ballymac Area's pace down the back was incredible. Nothing that would surprise us. She lacks a bit of professionalism yet. She's herself and Billy's Diva. There's absolutely very little to separate them when they're both at their peak. We've seen them against each other numerous times. Over this trip, Billy's Diva has improved. Ballymac Area, we suspect, will too. The pace she showed down to the third bend, what she was doing to the likes of Great Name That. I mean, I was contemplating last week, that Great Name That was probably maybe an obvious Derby winner looking at us, and that we're kind of trying to deny it because he has that sort of pace. But by God, when you see Ballymac Area doing what she did, and I know he got slightly held up at the second bend, which would have checked his momentum down the back, and he would have had to kind of pick up again. So, it can be very slightly exaggerated, but I mean, the manner in which she went by them, I know she only got about half length to the front and cut in and got trouble and all that, but like the overall pace she has, herself and Billy's Diva, it's hard to be saying that you want to be backing bitches to win the Derby, because you just don't know what season or everything else that happens, and that they don't have a fantastic record in the Derby. But by God, these are two of the best I've ever seen. I don't mind. I don't necessarily. I know Liam Dowling might disagree. I don't necessarily mind Ballymac area being out of the competition or whatever else. She's building up to something special, and it doesn't have to happen right now. If it doesn't happen in March, I don't care. It's going to happen over the course of the year. She's going to do something absolutely out of this world. Herself and Billy's Diva they're just sensational. We talked them up last year, and thanks be to God, we haven't been proven wrong. It's a rare occasion for us, but the bitches are just outstanding.
It'll be interesting to see what Liam does now with Ballymac Ariel, because she's had quite a lot of racing for such a young bitch. Maybe a rest. I don't know, obviously.
Best of luck with that, Michael. She's going to the Kirby. I spoke to Shane yesterday, and he said, now we'll just re-route her to the Kirby and to Limerick. And in fairness, it looks a natural sort of idea for her. The fact that she's coming back to her own age group as well, probably not taking on this same level of experience with that.
And how much more
the only thing she's missing from her armory is the ping break. And there's no question that can come. That can come. And by God help her rivals if that does come. Because there's nothing that can touch her if she hits it.
If she goes to the Kirby, which sounds like she's going to be quite a short price, isn't she?
There's an old Billy's Diva there might be there too. Do you know what I mean? And a few like that. Great Name That might be there. Ballymac Beanie might be there. It's just one of those. Sorry, Great Name That can't be there. He's November. Oh, he was a little bit younger. But I'm not getting away from the Easter Cup, but this Kirby's going to be red hot too, because there are a lot of very, very talented 19 whelps around. We'll move on. Listen, we know what they all are. And that is still there, and he can go up better than he did the other night. No question about that. On to the final heat, and it was a bit of a thriller. Michael, you suggested earlier on that Native Maestro ran a massive race in defeat, and he certainly did. He really is unlucky. The pace he took around Ballymac Wild to hit the front off the second bend, only for the two of them to clash. It was stunning. I think he lost nothing in defeat. In fact, I think he may have gained something in defeat. Yeah. I think he's a really, really talented greyhound. Like the Golden Tiger Dog, I'd love to see this fellow around Toaster. Drawn on the side, I think he'd be very hard to hold.
I really like Native Maestro. He did a 28-18 around Tralee in December in the Kingdom Derby.
When they weren't doing it.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. That is absolute aeroplane time. And we were having a chat in the judges' box that night, saying, "This is some animal. This is ridiculous." And a few of us inquired about prices for the Derby, and looked at him. We've been following him since. That run on Saturday night is only his second ever defeat in his career. I think we're talking about a dog that's been knocked out, but it was so significant how unlucky he was. I've got my notes here, and I went out kind of room because I've got led at second, balked, crowded third, came again. Unbelievable. I think he's got a massive future ahead of him. I really, really like him. With a little bit of anti-post in the Derby. Fingers crossed he'll make it there. Ballymac Wild's run in the fourth heat, I think, was the best run of the night. It was the most impressive run of the night. I did it the hard way. He shoved dogs out the way, powered on. Really impressive for me. That was the best. Really great determination. He's a fantastic greyhound. We know what he's done around my place. Again, paying attention to the time, completely irrelevant at the time in this heat.
Yeah, we know he's the dog that could do 29.10 around Shelbourne Park. So you have to just ignore the time. Yeah,
Sweep the Yard. I've got him down here as a big improver, but couldn't hold off the determination of Ballymac Wild. And Mombig Zinzan. Again, we mentioned strong finishers on the outside. Another one absolutely flew from the fourth bend to who did he beat just on the line to qualify there? He beat
Native Maestro.
Native Maestro just would picked on the line. But for me, it was the most interesting heat. It was the best win of the night, not the quickest. It was actually the slowest, neck and ahead. Just with my own kind of commentator's hat on, a slight bit of interest that's been happening, and it's been getting bigger and bigger. And Ian, you'd be part of this as well. The trio paid €445 for that race. So there's a lot more. Yeah, I think I've got the right race over.
Ballymac Wild. No, I think it was the previous.
Heat 3. The interest on online betting on the app is getting bigger and bigger as we go on, and we certainly saw a difference in the juvenile heats as well, which we'll talk about. But for me, Heat 4 was the most impressive. It was the most exciting race, and Ballymac Wild came out with flying colours.
Yeah, Tommy, as a race, this was This had it all. It was a real nip and tuck battle. Like it's a neck and a head. It didn't look a neck. Of course, he's on the far side. You want to be on the near side in Shelbourne Park. And someone said to me yesterday, I can't believe you called Ballymac Wild. You know, if I'm calling him, it must be half a length, because I'm notoriously bad at the photo finish there, despite the fact I've been commentating for so many bloody years. But Ballymac Wild, you know, we know exactly how good he is. And he is a greyhound that's probably still in need of a run or two after the winter break, despite the fact that he was kept plenty busy up to the end of last year. It was a fine display by him, but this was more about the actual race itself and the excitement on show.
He's still a dog that's going to break my heart. I just know that the nights I back him, he's going to get beaten. I just know it. I was watching that race the other night, and I had no idea from start to finish what way the race was going to finish. Nathan Maestro headed him, sweep the yard, headed him, and as Mike said, he kind of shoved dogs out of his way. He just said, "You're not getting by me," but he kept a bit of suspense in it all the way to the line. I think he's that type of dog. I don't think winning the distance is his thing. He's
not what you call a silky corner forward. He's more of a big burly sort of a wing back, you know, that's push people out of the way and just do what has to do. And, you know, he's just one of those, he likes cut and thrust. He's a big, strong running racer, but you can't question his determination. It's really there to see.
Well, I'm probably going to annoy people talking about the Derby right throughout the year, but like he's a dog that, like, we can talk about that might have been unlucky last year, but unfortunately I think this year is going to be even hotter and probably considerably hotter than last year's Derby. So I don't have him down in mind of that, but I see he's type of dog that if I'm against him in the Derby final, he'd probably win. It's just going to break my heart. I don't know what to make him. I mean, holding off Sweep the Yard is a fair performance. Native Maestro really put it up to him. What I liked about Native Maestro is what Mike touched on. He came back when he was inside at the third and fourth bends. He was trying to get a gap. There was no gap, but he was trying his best to get it. But by God, I think there was nothing going to go by Ballymac Wild and stay in front of him the other night. It's just that type of determined effort. Ballymac Wild can do it in 29.92 and he can do it in 29.42. That type of dog, but he'll still only do it probably half a length or a length. Like incredibly talented, just yet another one of the ones in Liam Dowling's kennel that are capable of doing huge time, Derby class times. But a dog that I'm afraid is just going to break my heart right throughout the year.
We mentioned Monbeg Zinzan briefly. Michael has suggested about, you know, he's running very well and strong. He sure is. He's a dog I can't wait to see back over six bends in the summertime. I'd say he could be a real Corncucullen type dog. Really powerful individual. He could also go well in the likes of the Shelbourne Open 600 or something like that, but maybe just lacks that yard of early. But he's running out of his skin at present, and he's not a dog that you could rule out qualifying the next night, because, you know, no matter where the traffic is, he's probably going to be behind it and looking to capitalise. He's in trap 3. You know, he's got the likes of Octobulls in Ballymac Wild, Golden Tiger, Glen Laramac, and Boyle Sports Bingo. So, you know, he should be behind most of them and getting a look at them. And by God, he'll absolutely hammer up that home straight. We'll move on to that draw, lads. Firstly, Mike, is there anything that stands out as you look at the semi-final draw, or is it a case of, you know, there's still so many question marks, or, you know, does the fact that Billy's Divas in trap 1 jump out at you?
Yeah, I think you've got to look at that. The sponsors go 130 joint favourite with New In Session out right now. It's the obvious one that you're going to think, yeah, well, that's really well drawn. As a whole, the two semi-finals, they're kind of conundrums. I don't think you can say, well, yeah, that's going to be 7-4, that's going to be 6-4, because it's not. I think it's a lot more open than that. I think there's a couple of them. Obviously, the two dogs on the outside, John Drew at Bermuda and Glen Laramac, they're both strong finishers. Like I said, Monbeg Zinzan is going to find herself behind in the first, is it the first semi-final? It's the second semi-final in trap 3. She's going to get more or less a clear solo into the first bend and pick away off. So him off. So he could be picking dogs off towards the end. Hopefully they'll be clean run. I like Billy's Diva in the first, but I think I'd probably go with New In Session, coming on a bit. It's only a third race since November. So found 20-odd spots, 25 spots in the semi-final in the last round last week, and it will improve again. Can match Billy's Diva to the corner, I think, and you know, whatever happens going on the first bend, I'd have New In Session ahead of Billy's Diva.
Okay, I don't think the bookmakers would do that, but I can see your reasoning for that. Tommy, what I like about the two semis is, and I don't want to disparage any other dogs, but, you know, there's three big guns and three big guns, three big
Yeah.
names. It's not there's no lopsided semi-final. They're both equally hot. They've both got similar types of greyhounds in them, and by all accounts, 4 of the 6 big names look likely to be in the final.
Well, the first semi-final is a kind of a remarkable draw, because you've kind of got. It's hard to pigeonhole Billy's Diva. She's not a specialist early pacer, but she has enough of it. So you've got her, and then you've got Beach Avenue, who wouldn't be the quickest early. Then you've got New In Session, who goes up. Then you've got Sweet the Yard, who wouldn't be a big early pacer. Then you've got Great Name That, who can go out in front, and Drum Do Bermuda, who come from behind. So you've got a break between the 3 early pacers and the three kind of slower starters. It's kind of really no excuse for maybe Great Name That hasn't got the best of the draw, because he's probably got to go around New In Session and Billy's Diva. I don't know. I'm not saying that he can't lead them. He possibly can, but I favour Billy's Diva if she can hold New In Session. But this is going to be a great test of him. Now, this is a proper test of him. If he pops out and makes all, we mightn't get those questions answered. But if he goes around level with Billy's Diva, we'll get a great kind of sign of what New In Session is really, really capable of, because this is a phenomenal race. Great Name That could get a run at both of them, a clear run around the first 2 bends. And if that happens, Great Name That can't be ruled out. I can't go from thinking last week that this could be a Derby winner to thinking he can't beat Billy's Diva at New In Session. It's an absolutely, if this is the final, I'd be quite happy to say, geez, we've got a vintage final this year. I favour Billy's Diva just because she's on the inside, she's improving. We certainly haven't yet seen the best of her over 550. She's going to be an absolute superstar. So I slightly favour her, although I know it can go different ways. The second semi-final, I thought Knocknagool Sid was a standout. I thought you could hardly ask for a better draw for Knocknagool Sid. If he's going to get out and he's going to get clear, this is a great opportunity to do so. He's got the plucky Ballymacwild. He's obviously going to do me when I say that Knocknagool Sid is borderline nap stuff. You've got Golden Tigerine, who's going to come in on top of Ballymacwild slightly. He's not going to dive in on top of him, but he would prefer to be inside. He does strike me as a reasonably clever tracker, Golden Tiger. He's not going to hit into dogs, if you know what I mean, but he's still going to favour going inside. So Ballymacwild has to break very quickly. I think this is an absolutely pitch perfect opportunity for Knocknagool Sid to pop out and make all.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. The thing is, both Ballymacwild and Golden Tiger can probably pop as well, but Knocknagool Sid is certainly on the right side of those two. And if he does pop out, he's more than likely going to enter the back straight with a length or 2 in his locker. Mike, your take on the 2 semi-finals. You've already suggested you think New In Session might be the one to beat in the opening heat. What's your view on both semis?
I have Knocknagool Sid. I can't see. I'd love to see Ballymacwild, but I can't. Just having the inside line on Ballymacwild might make the difference. It's going to be a cracking battle. I mean, between the two, you've got 2 kind of, no disrespect to the other runners, but you've got 2 kind of jewels in both semi-finals. You can look at it: Billy Diva against New In Session, Ballymacwild against Knocknagool Sid, and a couple of really strong finishes to pick up the pieces at the end. Myself, I like Knocknagool Sid. You just know he's going to pop out. He's done 340, 341 in both heats so far, which is, by the way, exactly the same that Ballymacwild has done. Ballymacwild did 341 last week and 340 before then. So there's nothing to choose between them. So just on the draw, I would prefer Knocknagool Sid. I think he's going to pop out. He would have won, I think, if he didn't get a slight clip from behind from New In Session. The other one, I have New In Session over Billy's Diva, just because I think he's going to come on a few lengths. And the third qualifying spot could be anything.
Yeah, I just want to touch on the opening semi-final a bit. I think there's 3. Obviously, the 3 standouts are Billy's Diva, New In Session, and Great Name That. On their very peak of their form, they're superior to their rivals, no question about that. I think this is one of those rare occasions where all 3 dogs can hit the lids, get a clear run, and I think you can lose nothing in defeat. Because I don't think if New In Session turned a close second to Billy's Diva and didn't pick her up, you'd go, oh, he couldn't pick her up. Or the same with Great Name That, or let's say New In Session and Billy's Diva turned second. I think it's a race where all 3 could come out with absolutely nothing lost, having run an unbelievable race to finish first, second, or third, wherever they are.
It's going to be irrelevant the position is where they think. It's just a case of getting to the final now with no injuries or anything like that, and driving on. If they finish second, first, we mentioned it earlier. I don't think it really matters to the connections.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. When it comes down to it, if you offer them an easy victory on Saturday night and a bad draw in the final, or a lucky third and a good draw in the final, I think they take the latter. You know, that's the way I see it. And yourself, Tommy, wow, like, is that the way you'd see it?
I don't think anybody's going to go easy on their greyhounds in terms of giving them a rest week this week, but the two heats are so competitive. If you're going to be the last of those three greyhounds going around the bend, Billy, Steve, and you in session and great name that you're going to be in third place, maybe assuming that you can lead the other three. You might just be in a little bit of trouble with the power that's in behind you. So I don't think you can afford to leave the dog undercooked, you know, slightly this week. This is like a final. This is like a final. I know it's a bit of a cliche and we say it oftentimes, but this is ridiculously hot. I mean, there's any of those dogs that could be favoured for the Derby by the time we get round to it. It's sensational heat. And I just love Billy's Diva. I think she's an absolute superstar. She's a February 19 as well, which is almost ridiculous.
Yeah, she's just gone 2 years of age. Crazy stuff. Listen, it'd be remiss of us not to use you, Michael. You were here. We're talking dogs on a Monday, and it just so happens that the future superstars, the future Easter Cup champions and Derby champions, were perhaps in action at Tralee on Friday night. I think it's safe to say that this is as good as any renewal of competition in the very past. We're going to quickly look through the heats. Get your thoughts on it. The opening heat, won by Zafiro, trained by Owen McKenna, of course, but a droopy Sydney Ballymac Razzle. We've seen this breeding on a couple of occasions. Ballymac Razzle is turning into something pretty bitch. Zafiro is a real powerhouse. Looking at him, you wouldn't think Tralee will be his track. I think he's crying out for Shelbourne Park 550 or even 575 600. Exceptionally fast greyhound. Zoom ran a big race in second. They were the two standouts in the opening heat.
Yeah, Zoom, we were really looking forward to him. I was to point out that the conditions on Friday night were perfect compared to the conditions on the previous Friday. If you had a really top quality juvenile, you couldn't have made its debut. They couldn't have made their debuts in worse conditions. It was lashing rain. It was 40-mile-an-hour wind. The lights were swaying. It was, I mean, I would guess most of those juveniles would have had, it was terrible.
Michael was holding up for dear life in the commentary box.
It was terrible. You couldn't have had a worse start to your racing career as a juvenile, but we moved on and all the decent, the big dogs got through. Zoom, we were waiting for him to run because we thought he's definitely going to prefer the kind of top of the ground, but he didn't run as well as we thought he did. He still qualified. Zafiro is an absolute aeroplane. I had him 5 lengths down at the halfway split, and the halfway split was 14.26, which is the second halfway split of the night. He absolutely flew from halfway. Lot of interest in him. He's owned by the Pastana connection, Des Grace, trained by Owen McKenna. Owen McKenna's won this 3 times, so he knows a dog that's suited. Yeah. I think he is suited to Tralee. It was only 3:14 sectional. He might want to improve on that, but he'll continue. He's a very, very good dog. The ones behind him, Ballyhimmick Boy, every chance in third. He was right. Craig's Hill was hit by trap 3. Luon was unlucky, but I've got to hear Zafiro, very impressive, very strong. Will stay for further. He's a big fella. He's an 80-pounder.
Yeah. I assume you feel the same way about that one, Tom.
Yeah, the only concern I have him is that there are a lot of very tight raiders in the competition and very, very good dogs that will probably be in front of Zafiro, but he is a bit special. I love the way that he switched outside so quickly at the last bend to take control of the race. That was impressive because he didn't even check his stride. He obviously had eyed it up before he turned for home what he was going to do. He was gathering on the leader so quickly. Very impressive, I have to say. Yeah. Now he obviously
the second heat, Broadstrand Ryan. Just engine star circle cross. Just all bells and whistles. This fellow is just. He hasn't done it right either night. He did 28.37 the other night. This fellow has pace to burn, Mike. Where is his ceiling?
Again, that's another dog that flew from halfway, needs the rails, has to have the inside. Be worried about, I can't remember the trap, I haven't looked at it yet, but he's in 3 in the next round, but that's okay. Anything outside of that, he's going to struggle. He was 2 lengths behind at the split. Again, another dog that came from behind. Impressed and flew home, won by 4 lengths in the end. Very, very impressive. Fast of night, 28.37. The Jacob Tashidelic flew out, 3:03. He's okay. He's a nice greyhound. He'll lead again for Neelius O'Connell and Tom Lynch. That's a Kerry connection there. And in third place was Burgess Glenclar, he was staying on, but again head across. To tell you what's really apparent in this competition is the amount of railers. The amount of dogs that are heading towards the fence, which is unusual. but it's incredible. I think there's only one, I think maybe one or two, again, similar to the Easter Cup, wide runners left in the actual thing. But yeah, Broadstead run, very, very impressive, fastest of the night. But you'd be concerned if he doesn't get across to the rail.
Okay, Tommy, is there much talk in your locality about Broadstrand Ryan? I assume that Barry Drake has certainly beaten the drum. Was there any talk down in Cork about how good this fellow is?
Yeah, but like you never want to pigeonhole any dog after 2 runs. But when I watched the debut, of course, the first thing I was thinking was it only held its position because it was tight against the rail, because it was against the pressure of the pace on the outside. I thought it was a couple of stages during that race on debut that I thought this is going backwards a little bit. But the pace it showed from the last bend to the escape was ridiculous. And again, the other night, and in fairness, because it steps up and Jacob Tashdalek ran a fine race, it just took off again. Same thing again. I would have slight concern. Mike is right. You've got a fast starter in 2 in the heat next week, and you've got Broadstrand Ryan who wants to be inside. It's just interesting. The dog will learn quite a bit more next weekend, because he's going to have next Friday night, because he's going to have to track. He's going to have to find a way around, probably around Jacob Tashley, who looks a likely leader. With Ballymacbell being in track 1, looks an ideal opportunity with 2 to lead. So I would suggest that we learn more about Broadstrand Ryan. But by God, he's some stayer. 5-5 isn't his trip. It's just not going to be a trip.
Yeah. What is apparent from the heats, guys, is although they're juveniles, it was so clean racing. We only had one heat, the heat 4. There was a bit of trouble, track 4 on that one. Rivers Pebbles found trouble. But the rest of them, they absolutely flew around as if they were really experienced greyhounds.
I suppose the beauty in a competition like this is that the prize is so well worth chasing that there's no like nobody skips a chance to give their dog experience around the place, and they've got every chance to be right as rain coming into this competition. Okay, obviously they are young and green and they will improve, some of them, but they've been given their opportunity around the track, which is a great help.
Yeah. We put on at least 2, 3, maybe 4 special trial sessions for the juvenile, and they were pretty busy before the month leading up to it. But it's great to see really well schooled greyhounds flying around, no trouble, clean run races, really, really, really good.
And again, they're getting the chance to get experience in their own company. It makes a huge, huge difference. It's something that the English model, I'm sure they will look at in the future, but just gives them that chance to learn in their own company rather than being thrown in into the fire from an early stage. No, although this is a red hot competition. On to the third heat. Michael, you're gonna have to talk us through this one. Sing Along Sally maintained her unbeaten record. We're not sure how. Good Cody was out front last time I saw. Ballymacbell Volt was perfect position. I thought he was going to play a big part. Is it Bombardier or Bombardier? He ran out, and so does Greg's Jack.
Yeah, I'm going Bombardier, as in the. I looked up and someone said, "Well, they make airplanes. There's an airplane manufacturer called Bombardier."
Well, that's Bombardier. That's fine. No, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, commentator's nightmare. Camera malfunction at the halfway split.
I'd say it was more the cameraman's nightmare than the commentator's nightmare.
I think it's both actually. The SD card broke down our camera. One of those things. Hey, the commentary through there. Not much changed apart from Sing Along Sally catching Good Cody. Good Cody recorded the fastest section of the night, 3:01. So he's obviously a good fast starter. Now, Sing Along Sally is fantastic. Cracking looking bitch, a real character. Everybody's worried that she'd dive across the rails. She did, but it wasn't as violent as you'd expect her to do it. And she managed to just get a place behind Good Cody, who also recorded the fastest halfway split, 14:27. Now, then the lights went out, and you could hear the panic in my voice because I had to switch live, and these 51-year-old eyes aren't as good as they were. So
what you're saying is you had to look up.
I had to scramble for my glasses because I couldn't see the far side of the track. But I think we got there in the end, and thank God it wasn't close because it would have been a real nightmare.
Yeah, but that's when you put in the bluffers, and they continue to race down the back straight and into the third bend, and it's still up for decision as he's trying to get his glasses on.
Yeah, it's like
Sing Along Sally. We'll get back to the lady herself. She is very, very talented. I know Pat has thought an awful lot about her from an early stage. He was caught unawares when she did the 28:44 trial at Shelbourne, but ever since then he's been singing her praises. Her mother, Drubby Smasher, was an absolute flying machine, and this lady, another bitch that's going to make waves in the coming year. They really are an unbelievable group.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too concerned about her trap draw for the next night. It's in 5 and she's going to cut across, but I think she did a 3:05 sectional on Friday. It's quick enough to get across. Certainly to possibly lead Ballyhimmakin Boy. Jacob Tashadilla could be away and gone. She should lead Broadstrand Ryan into the corner. So it's going to be a crack race. I really like her. She was 2 lengths behind at the halfway split when the camera went off, and she made up that ground to catch and went on to win by 3/4 of a length. Her own section was 3:05, which is, these are pretty quick sectionals around Tralee in the middle of February. So yeah, I like her. I think she'll go far in the competition. I don't think a bitch has ever won it. I'm just looking back. This is our 15th year of running the competition. It seems like yesterday this started. Brilliant sponsors again, Greyhound and Petwell. Got to mention them. To take a sponsorship like this on board during COVID, when they're not getting much run for their money apart from chats like this and watching it on Barking Buzz and the RPG TV. So big up to them.
It was also a wise choice because it's the one competition that we'll keep referring back to all year. It's the one competition that everyone in Ireland and England, potential buyers, potential sellers, people that just want to get a grip on what's going to happen for the remainder of the year. This is the competition you have to tune into. And fair play to Greyhound and Pet World. They've taken on the sponsorship. It's a great sponsorship and it's a great competition.
Didn't mention it earlier on, of course, but Ballymake Wild won it last year. It's one of the leading players in the Easter Cup as well. So I'll take my Tralee help.
Behind Sing Along Sally, good Cody, you said, showed the good early speed. Ballymac Belvold, he didn't obviously get a run around the third or fourth bends. He looked in a lovely position when the lights went out, as we say. Bombardier got bad traffic, and even Greg Shack, who won his opening round heat in fine style, he was all sorts of traffic.
Yeah, I thought Ballymac Belvold would have got a bit closer to him, but again, will improve. Improved sectional on the thing, so that's an improving sort. Definitely, I've got here needs the inside. Asta has the inside as well. Another greyhound that needs the inside, and he has it in the semi-final next Friday night as well.
We move on to the final heat. It's safe to say that even the dogs that went out in that third heat will make waves in the coming year because they're a very, very talented bunch. If that had been the final, you'd have been happy enough with the quality. On to the final heat, and this was one time only, who showed real good early dash, held on by a short head from the eye-catching Swords Maestro. I also thought third ran very well, Ballymac Merlin, despite the fact 8 lengths. God, it's hard to believe it was 8 lengths back to her, but he ran such a big race in third. But only one time only, good early speed, looked a nice type. But I thought Swords Maestro and Ballymac Merlin also two that would be 550-yard dogs in the future.
Yeah, Ballymac Merlin, if you watch the video, is absolutely miles behind. He's done miracles to qualify. One time only, similar to Billy Diva, was away and gone. The result was over. Came back to the field. You'd be concerned about that because the going wasn't particularly heavy. I think what did we rate it on the night? It was just 10 slow, which is a standard for our place at the moment. We don't run standard, we run 10 slow normally. So the track was in great condition. You'd be slightly concerned about his stamina. 3:01 sectional, another lightning quick section. It flew from the boxes. Sword Maestro, slightly crowded at the second bend and just got beat in the end by a short head. Third place was close as well. It was a short head between Quivers Pebbles and Ballymac Merlin. This was where Quivers Pebbles, unlucky actually, took a bad bump. It was the worst incident in all 4 heats. Actually took an actual stumble, did well to even get anywhere close. Sorry, it's Coombe Leo who was beaten into fourth. Ballymac Merlin, I like to keep an eye on him. He came from a long way behind to qualify.
Yeah. Tommy, anything that caught your eye there?
I like the fact that Ballymac Merlin seemed to get almost stumble turn for home as he tried to get around Coombe Leo. I thought he ran well. And Swords Maestro obviously ran like cracker. The winner, because he can strengthen up. He's a July pup, yeah. But like Broadstrand Ryan ran away from the first round and he kind of faded the last day. So you would have a slight concern that he's going to be a pure 5-2-5 dog. But then
a Laurel's type dog. How bad?
Exactly. He can strengthen up. I wouldn't like to say that he's not going to be. When he's in this competition in the first place and he's able to win a heat of it, it's a pretty good sign of a dog.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out that this time last year, Dearjet Sydney wasn't producing these types of runs, and he went on to win an English Derby, and that's the nature of this competition. It's the dogs that finish down the field or don't quite fire in the early rounds that will come out and improve in time. I'm gonna nail you to the mast here now. I can absolutely nail you. If you had to take one dog out of the competition, lads, I'll let you go first, Mike. Tommy, you're not allowed to copy him.
Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, Zafiro.
Zafiro, okay.
Absolutely, not just what's going to happen in the semi-final, but if I wanted to own a dog, it would be Zafiro. there was a lot of people interested in seeing if he was available. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, a couple of people got in contact with me, and I said, "Best of luck with that, lads."
Yeah, there was a few lads that were asking as well. So he put absolutely zero chance of that happening. I love him.
There was zero chance of that happening.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. No, I really, really like him. I think Sing Along Sally could be great for the sport, as in a bit of a character. She's a nice white greyhound with a big black spot on her face.
Yeah, she's almost Dalmatian-like. I know Emma Buckley was referencing that on Twitter the other day.
Much love for the kennel, yeah. So, but Zafira, I like
Zafira. Tommy.
I'm going to have to say, because I can't say Zafiro, I just love the way he tracked. But I'm going to have to say Broadstone Ryan. I do kind of have concerns about how he's going to get a run next week, and maybe if he does, he will be a special greyhound. So I'm going to say Broadstone Ryan because of the pace he's shown. He's not going to be at his best over 5.25 here. You get to Shelbourne 5.50, 5.75. He's going to be a bit of a star. So yeah, I'll have to go with him. It's obviously a local thing. And Barry not being here today, I'll have to stick with the. I'll have to take over the Cork mantle.
Yeah. Tommy grew up in the mean streets of Temple Oak, by the way, in Dublin.
Tough place.
The mean streets of Temple Oak. Lads, it's a great competition. I really look forward to the next round. I look forward to next round of the Easter Cup. We're at a great time of the year. You know, it's great to see these youngsters coming through. And at the same time, with, 24 hours, we get to see then the most established performers in the country. And even then, we still have a few potential stars in action in that one. A great time to be a greyhound racing enthusiast. Just can't wait to get back on track. Mike, thanks for being with us today.
Enjoyed it, Ian. Thanks for inviting me.
Tommy, we'll talk to you next week. I might even talk to you before then. But that's it for now for us on Talking Dogs. Remember that we'll be back next Monday discussing all matters Ladbrokes Easter Cup. And of course, we'll be also bringing you more news and opinion on the Greyhound and Pet World Juvenile Classic. But that's it for this evening. Best of luck and be lucky.